Hello friends, your boy is back from Texas in his brightly LCD screen illuminated room, very tired and quite ill. Range day was incredible, but your boy is tired. However, when I was away, a lot went down for Halo. We have a lot to talk about. There's some pretty huge Halo news that I'm really chomping at the bit to talk about. So today, we're going to cover all the stuff that I've missed when I was away, along with some absolutely huge news about the future of Halo. It's probably what you think it is, not gonna lie. So let's waste no more time and jump into all the stuff that we've got to talk about today, because there's quite a bit. So firstly, literally the day that I left, Infinite's mid-season update for Season 5 released, and Season 5 was already a pretty damn good season for the game, and the mid-season update has only made it better. Hands down, the biggest thing that came with this update is the fix for the game's networking. Now, one of the major problems with Halo Infinite, since literally day one, I would say a problem that was equal in veracity and weight to the lack of content, is how bad the networking in this game is. Like desync, lag, bad shot registration, bullets bending around corners, Angelina Jolie wanted style. The game has been a networking mess, to put it lightly, since day one. But the mid-season update brought with it at least a test for a networking rework, and oh my god, they may have actually pulled it off. So far, I've experienced zero lag, zero desync, no shot registration issues, or any bullets that bend around corners in the playlists that have this networking update. Honestly, I am blown away that the game feels this radically different. When they mentioned they were redoing the networking for the game, I thought oh yeah, desync's probably going to get 10% better, and maybe some bullets won't bend around corners anymore, but at least in my experience, you might be different, but in my experience, it kind of seems like they've completely fixed all of the networking issues. But it goes beyond just issues in combat as well, because a lot of the issues with Infinite's really bad networking before were impacting the game's physics as well, and the way that you interacted with objects in the environment. Now, obviously, physics have always been a huge thing in Halo, and when they're not working, well, it's like a piece of Halo's soul is missing. But I'm very happy to report that by the looks of it, as of this networking rework, as Dark Maiming is showing here, absolutely excellent forger by the way, the interactions with physics in the world and also vehicles and other stuff seem so much better. Not buggy, not laggy, not desyncy, just natural and organic how they used to be in basically every Halo before Infinite. This is going to be an absolute godsend for customs, I'm telling you right now. Maybe Jenga won't actually be a laggy mess anymore in Infinite. Fingers crossed. The next major addition was, finally, another new piece of equipment in Halo Infinite. Only the second new piece of equipment that the game has had so far, but it's pretty damn good. I really like it. It's the repair field. To be honest, this thing is basically the second coming of Halo 3's Regenerator, and although I do kind of vastly prefer the way that Halo 3's Regenerator looked and sounded, I think functionality-wise, the repair field is honestly better than Halo 3's Regenerator. In almost every aspect, it functions identically to the Regenerator. It heals allies, it heals enemies, all within its vicinity. Except now, you can stick the repair field to vehicles and even other people as well. And it's this kind of interactability with equipment that makes equipment such a fantastic gameplay element. I really wish that Infinite had more things like this and fewer pieces of equipment like thrust that only affect the player. The repair field is an excellent example of equipment done right. For example, I can now render Zook my own Banshee with it. So the Banshees in this game are basically made out of paper mache, right? They're so goddamn weak. But if I get in a Banshee with a repair field and my Banshee gets damaged, I can just fly directly up into the air, jump out the Banshee, stick it with a repair field, and get back in mid-air and then go back in for another strafe run, all healed up and really tough again. Mechanically, this repair field is honestly, I would say, the best addition to Infinite Sandbox yet, and this kind of interactability I really hope is the baseline for all future equipment in Halo Infinite, and also in whatever comes next. More on that later. Okay, very quick interlude. A brute chieftain just stomped into my room with a hammer, and he's aiming that hammer at me very aggressively, and he's telling me to tell you to subscribe right now. Yes, I'm telling them. Chill with the Fist of Rukt, please. Subscribe right now, or that Fist of Rukt is going to get swung, and it won't end well. Also, follow me on Twitter as well. That's me saying that, not the chieftain. Oh no, okay, the chieftain wants you to follow me on Twitter. Okay, so at HiddenXperia, sub down below, continue on with the video. But of course, the biggest addition to Season 5's mid-season update is the one, the only Firefight. It's long-awaited return, specifically Firefight King of the Hill. Now, I think this mode is honestly pretty decent. I don't think it's gonna like blow anything out of the water. It's just a nice, cool, like PvE mode to play that's not really sweaty. You can just go into it, ignore skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking doesn't have a role to play in it at all, thank God. You just go in, you turn your brain off, and you just mindlessly slay the insanely fun enemy AI in Infinite. Banished, Sentinels, bosses as well, which I think is really, really cool. Dude, fighting Jaeger Domni on Deadlock feels so weird, but so cool. Fighting him at night. Damn, that is a vibe right there. I actually love that they've added the revive ability from attrition, I think it was, into Firefight. I love being able to go over and revive my teammates when they go down. Also, having the hills move around the map as well, because it's King of the Hill, so it functions just like regular King of the Hill. Makes it so that you don't just stick in the same place in the map the entire game. Like, for example, you would do in ODST Firefight. Like, Lost Platoon, you're gonna lock down that central building, right? Whereas with this, like, you have to move around the map, which is pretty good. I gotta say as well, it is very cool finally fighting Banished in biomes and environments and locations that weren't at all present in the campaign. Like, for example, fighting Banished in a desert on Oasis. It feels so good, and it really, really, really makes it apparent that Infinite's campaign was missing those extra biomes. I mean, we knew that already, but actually fighting the Banished in these really cool environments, like in a really, really good-looking desert, just, it feels so different, and it feels so fresh. We're fighting the same AI from the campaign, exactly the same AI, same vehicles, everything, but because it's in a different biome, it automatically feels fresh. I gotta say though, you guys know by now that Firefight isn't exactly my forte. I'm not the biggest fan of Firefight. I never have been, all the way back to ODST. Was never the biggest fan. I've always been, I love Gears of War Horde, and I also liked Left 4 Dead Survival as well, but Call of Duty Zombies for me is the absolute classic zombies, at least, like World at War, BO1, BO2, BO3, absolute peak of round-based horde modes. And I really, really hope one day we get a version of Firefight, an official version of Firefight, that takes a leaf out of Zombies book and has an economy, buyables, buildables, Easter egg quests, because, man, I would do so many things to have that round-based classic Zombies formula put into Halo's universe, with a narrative to tell, with maps that link into each other, with interactable environments, with things you can find to build, to buy, to upgrade yourself. That gameplay loop, not to go on a huge tangent, because I've already made so many videos about zombies, but that gameplay loop, I think, is so timeless, and it's not limited to Call of Duty Sandbox. I think that gameplay loop of, like, upgrading yourself with perks and upgrades, pack-a-punching, spinning the mystery box, yada yada, would work so well with Halo and, like, banished enemies, but of course, Flood. But that's a tangent. That's a whole different topic that I've already spoken about in great detail. But either way, Firefight, for what it is, I think it's pretty fun. It's a cool new addition. And just being able to fight, like, Banished and just do PvE in Halo again feels very nice. Sketch also confirmed that, not in this update obviously, but in the future, there is going to be a match composer added to Halo Infinite, which honestly is one of the best things they could ever add to this game at this point. The match composer, I would say, is probably MCC's greatest individual feature. I mean, you have all the benefits of a regular matchmaking system, so like the quick ease of access into games, with all the benefits of a server browser as well, being able to filter down like what kind of game mode you want, what kind of game you want to play. And that coming to Infinite is going to be really good. Okay then, speaking of MCC, you may or may have not seen recently that MCC is supposedly dead. Not the game is dead, but support for the game has ended, and 343 basically aren't working on it anymore. Now, the reason that people are starting to say this is because a bunch of devs that worked on MCC have been sent these plaques and these thank you notes from the team saying thank you for all the work that you've done at MCC, yada yada, and then the plaque says finished the fight, and then it's the launch date of MCC to July this year, which is when the last update for the game came out. And there's also a bunch of other stuff as well where it's looking like the people that worked on MCC have basically been moved to Halo Infinite or other projects. So if you ask me, I think this is probably true. It's very much been given off to the community, which is fine. However, there are still things with MCC that ideally needed doing. Like, there's features like, for example, piece-by-piece armor customization for the elites in Halo Reach. They said they were going to do that in like Season 4. and that never happened. And then if you go on Halo support, there's like large lists of known problems with like every game in the MCC that haven't been fixed, and some were even introduced in the last update. There's also other things that I really think they should have added before ending support for the game that would have made the like post-official support lifespan of the game so much better. Like, for example, being able to host servers in the game in the server browser with modded maps and modded game types. Right now, you can't do that. If you want to play a mod, you have to have the other person install that mod themselves on Steam Workshop, and then you have to manually invite them. It's not like, for example, back in the day in like World at War custom games, I believe that if you used to play like custom zombies in World at War, I think it was only the host that needed the map. The same, I believe, with like stuff in Gmod and also like Half-Life and that kind of stuff. But with MCC, everyone in the lobby needs to go and manually download the mods themselves. It does kind of suck that never got added, because with MCC now in the hands of the community, the biggest like facet of that is the mod tools that they released over the last few years that have been really, really, really cool. They're obviously meant to be the main driving force of the game moving forward now that it's in the community's hands. And like one of the main features that would have made the experience with those mod tools so much better and so much more like accessible as well isn't in the game. It kind of sucks. You know, we'll get to this in a second, but I'm actually kind of surprised that they never did rentable custom servers as a form of monetization for the game. Like, I can pay, I don't know, $10 a month to rent a server that can host like my own modded maps or modded game types or whatever, that anybody can just join and have the game play seamlessly, as opposed to having to go and download all the stuff themselves. Last year, they floated the idea of doing microtransactions for MCC, which was basically going to take the form of purchasable Spartan points, which you use to unlock the battle passes. And to be honest, I didn't like that idea. Whether people like it or not, MCC now has indirectly become the main form of preservation for all the old Halo games that had their servers shut off last year, like Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo 3 ODST. Can't play any of those original games online anymore. The only way to play those games online is in the MCC. So indirectly, MCC is now a major form of game preservation for the classic Halo games. And as soon as you start adding microtransactions to something that is now acting as a way of preserving those games, I'm sorry, for me at least, that just does not sit right. At the end of the day, adding microtransactions to allow you to just buy your way through the cosmetic battle passes in MCC was not suddenly going to make thousands and tens of thousands of people suddenly start playing the game. I don't think that would have introduced any new players. The people that play the game now would still be the ones playing it, and they're the ones who have probably already unlocked anything, so I don't think they would have made much revenue off that at all. I really wish they'd done rentable servers, but here we are. The future of MCC, I think now, is very much in the hands of the community and modders and people that want to create their own experiences with the mod tools in these beloved games. MCC had a great run. There's definitely more they could have done, and there's more that I wish they would have done, but I'd say the run that MCC had to go from the single most broken thing in the history of video games to what is now essentially Halo Custom Edition across the entirety of the original trilogy and ODST and Reach and Halo 4 is pretty damn good. 343 messed up big time in the first few years of the game, undeniably, but they've absolutely recovered it in the years past. So regardless of what you think about them continuing or not continuing support, you can't say that MCC hasn't had a great run, and the servers are still up. Don't go out thinking that the servers are dead now and that's it. Like, the servers are still up. Please go and play MCC. The game is constantly on sale. It's always doing really well. Go and play it. Try out some modded servers, some modded maps, modded game types, custom campaigns. There's so much to enjoy in MCC still. Right then, let's get on to the huge news. The reason that down there in the title, huge, is in big old capital letters. So, Sketch from 343, Brian, great guy, love him, did an interview over with Paris over at Kinda Funny Games, and he basically talked about Infinite, Season 5, yada yada, but also, as you can expect, based on the title and based on what I said at the start, he gave some little hints, and not so little hints, at the future beyond Infinite. Before that, he mentioned campaign DLC. Roll the clip.
I mean, I'll be honest, we have nothing to announce today regarding any campaign content for Infinite. I'll even go a step further and tell you right now there's nothing in active development on that front. You know, we made the decision, it was just over a year ago, to really double down on improving the multiplayer product, going after the key sort of sentiment issues and feedback items from the community. And that's really what's, I think, part of when we look back at how has the team been able to kind of hit this seasonality and become more consistent and really start to check all these boxes. I think really laser focusing in on that has helped as well.
So obviously we all knew that campaign DLC wasn't happening anymore, but I know there were some people out there still really holding out hope that it might just happen. Please use this as an indication that you should put your hopium elsewhere. You should invest your hopium, your finite hopium supplies elsewhere. It's not happening for Infinite. I really wish it would have done, but it's not. The reason it's not happening, like Brian said, is because last year they pivoted all their focus to basically fixing multiplayer and getting multiplayer into the state that it should have been in at launch the year before. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't help but be like a little bit bitter that the reason we're not getting campaign DLC for Infinite to continue that story that ended on such a cool cliffhanger is because the multiplayer launched somehow worse than Halo 5. Oh man, there's a timeline out there where we got a DLC that continued on from that legendary ending, and we're not in that timeline. You know, I've said it so many times before, but campaign is as important to a game's longevity as multiplayer is, at least with Halo. That's one of the unique traits of Halo. Campaign can carry people forward as much as multiplayer can. I really don't believe that we should be having to wait 3 to 6 years now every time in between a major entry in Halo's story. I dread to think how long the gap is going to be in between Infinite's ending and the continuation of that story. And I think 6 years plus, 6 years plus it's ludicrous. It's way too long, and it makes the campaigns and the stories like inaccessible because people get into them, they get really into the story, they get to the ending and they're like, oh wow, that's really cool, where's this gonna go? And then it's like, well, wait like 8 years and maybe you'll find out if we don't drop the story. Like, no one's gonna stick with that. I honestly firmly believe that, maybe this is controversial, I firmly believe now that Halo's campaign and multiplayer needs separating, and campaigns need to be released kind of like Destiny expansions. Like every year or like every 18 months, there needs to be a major new entry in the campaign that exists like separately from multiplayer. I think if you want to be serious with Halo's story and you really want to tell a story that has people stick with it and that lasts a long time and that feels cohesive, you can't have these ridiculous gaps in between entries. It's too long.
I'm just privileged and thankful that I've somehow had a small role to be a part of that journey. And as I look further ahead, I definitely don't think Halo's best years are behind us. I think there are a lot of really cool, exciting things on the horizon. Some things are further out.
Now, Sketch saying that he doesn't think that Halo's best years are behind us is like, I know what you're going to say, it's the most obvious PR marketing speak ever that could not be any more corporate. And I agree, right? I agree. However, hear me out here. If anyone else has said this at 343, I'd be like, oh, yeah, whatever, right? However, I know Brian, I know Sketch, he doesn't sugarcoat things. Brian does not sugarcoat things. I'm not telling you to get the hopium canisters back out and start huffing again. Do not do that. However, all I'm saying is Brian saying this to me gives it more weight than basically anybody else at 343 saying it. He doesn't sugarcoat stuff. He doesn't beat around the bush. He will, if something is looking optimistic, he will say it. If something's not looking optimistic, he will also say it. So again, don't go huffing the hopium, but I just thought this was pretty good hearing it from Brian of all people. So speaking of the future, Brian actually gave us a little bit of a tease at what is going on beyond Infinite.
I think there are a lot of really cool, exciting things on the horizon. Some things are further out. Folks that have been kind of keeping a keen eye might notice that we've started sort of posting some job postings again. I mean, the winds are blowing. We are starting to look ahead to the future. I don't think we have anything to say on that front for quite a while, but you know, I mean, Infinite, as good as it is, and as more great things there are still to come, the studio has ambitions that reach beyond Infinite, and I'm very, very excited and energized to sort of take all the cumulative 25 years and all the learnings from Infinite and apply that to what could be next.
So nothing concrete. He's not going to be here like dropping the name of like Halo 7, The Reclamation Begins, or some dumb shit like that, right? Obviously, he was never going to do that. However, I gotta say, it's very interesting to hear someone from 343 officially, on 343's terms, speak about the job listings, because obviously we've been doing theorization about the 343 job listings now for over a year at this point. I think like midway through 2022 we started seeing those pop up about a supposed like next title, or I can't remember the specifics, but we've seen these things pop up for a game at 343 that's very obviously not Halo Infinite for a while, and hearing him actually speak on that officially is very interesting because it just adds credence to all the theorization that we're doing, all the theories that we've been kind of cooking up about that. Maybe they aren't that false, maybe they actually have at least half a foot in reality. This is also, I think, the first time that we've heard anybody at 343 officially speak about anything that exists beyond Infinite. Infinite has always been like this dead stop. They've never spoken about anything beyond that. But now, obviously, Infinite is over 2 years old. We're starting to get into the territory of, like, people starting to go, like, right, okay, what's next? Like, we want to see what's coming next. Infinite ended on a cliffhanger. Continue it, please. And I'm the same. Like, I really hope, I mean, this is a pipe dream, but I'm really hoping that next year we get official, like, actual, genuine confirmation of the next game, or a spin-off, or whatever the health tanker is now, like, something, because, like, I kind of got not announcing it this year, and obviously last year, because Infinite was still very new and very fresh, and they were still doing loads of updates to it, but now that Infinite's kind of got into the swing of things, and they've finally, like, they've hit seasonality, they've got things going with that game, I think it's time for them to start teasing what exists beyond it. Like, they've absolutely not repaired all the damage that Infinite caused, but they've done a damn good job at kind of getting Halo back on its feet, pulling itself up by its bootstraps and being like, right, okay, we're back in the fight, we're not completely out yet, we've got some life left in us, and I think that, like, striking while the iron is hot then is the perfect time to start talking about what comes next. Obviously, what Brian said about all the learnings from, like, Infinite and the last 25 years of Halo, even though it was Sketch that said it, it is very typical, like, corporate speak. We've heard that before. God, I think 343 have said, like, oh, we can't wait to take the learnings from all of our mistakes from the last game and act on those in the next game. I think we've heard that, like, every single time they've released a game, and every time it seemed as though they have done the precise opposite of that. But you never know. With Pierre as a leader, obviously this is the first, whatever happens next is going to be the first game without the old leadership. Pierre seems to have had a pretty damn good effect so far. He seems to be a pretty good leader. So I think we will see a shift in how Halo games are made and the priorities of those games with his new leadership. But I think even with that, it's going to be a while before we actually see anything. We know now that something is happening. What that thing is, man, I wish I knew, but Christ, to be a fly on the wall in 343, dude, I wish. But yeah, I really hope next year is when we finally start to see what exists beyond Infinite start to surface. Just a little bit, just like an official announcement or an official teaser or something, man, because I really want Halo to go beyond Infinite now. So I've got one last thing to talk about very briefly that I spotted the other day. I just thought it was quite a joke. So obviously the Halo TV show trailer came out, like, I don't know how long ago now. As of releasing this video, like 2 weeks ago maybe, bang on 2 weeks ago I think. And the Halo TV show Twitter account hasn't posted anything. I mean nothing. Absolute radio silence. So I don't know if people working over there want to bury the series as well. Who knows? But just thought I'd mention that because I thought it was quite funny when I spotted it. So, with all that said, that was a little bit of a roundup video. I've not done one of these for a while, but I missed quite a lot, and I wanted to cover it because I wanted to give my my 2 cents on it, so to speak. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave your 2 cents down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Infinite Season 5 mid-season update, the MCC stuff, and of course, also Sketch's loose but very directed hints at what happens or what's coming after Infinite. I just want more campaign, man. Like, I can live without a multiplayer at this point. Just keep Infinite's multiplayer. Please, something for campaign. I am begging you, please. And with that said, let's round this one out here. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, and also follow me over on Twitter at HiddenXperia, like I already said. With that said, I want to give a huge thank you to all of my patrons for the amazing support over there. As per usual, thank you all so much, and thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.